mercy is mercy and not payment. Our relation to God is held by the idea that God is wrathful and cannot forgive unless due payment is made. To be sure, Jesus came. He said that he came to give his life as ransom for the many. But it was never said that such ransom was to be paid to God. After all, God sent Jesus to begin with. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The second problem has to do with us. How can someone else be our substitute in matters of such high moral purpose? Nobody likes to be benched for a substitute, especially in the big game. I'll make my own way and pay my own debts. None of that cheap grace for me. Thank you very much. So we are likely to say. The claim that Jesus had to die for you gets brushed aside. But the New Testament witness is persistent. Jesus died for us on our behalf. That is said again and again, translated into proclamation. It is the bold announcement that Jesus died for you. How can this be? Look at it this way. Jesus, we are told, came preaching repentance and forgiveness of sin on God's authority. In other words, God didn't have to be paid to forgive, but announced forgiveness through Jesus to begin with. But that is when the trouble starts, for we would not have it. When Jesus forgave the sins of the paralytic who had been let down through the roof, all the people were incensed. This man is blaspheming, they said. And so it went all through his ministry. The protests grew more and more persistent. One cannot run this world on forgiveness. Finally, he was crucified for it. He died for the right to say it. Even from the cross he cried, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But how shall we say that this death of Jesus is for us? All we need to do is look carefully at what actually happened. We do not need elaborate doctrinal theories. The fact is, we killed him. We couldn't let him speak the word of forgiveness, not here in this place. Our problem is that we live under the law. That is the way our world runs. We succumb to the temptation to regulate even our relationship with God according to the law. In that sense, we live under the wrath of God. If we wish to live that way, God will oblige. But that is a terrible fate. It means death. Jesus, however, comes to announce that God won't have it in the end. He comes to establish a new reality, a new relationship. So a mighty clash takes place, a strange and marvelous strife, Luther liked to call it, in which life and death are contending. Jesus comes into our place. He is born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who are under the law. He comes to rescue us from our determination to live under the law, but that means he can only die. He cannot not come into our world saying, "Come on now, folks, be nice, stop sinning." For that would only mean more law. There would be no end to it. He can't win this battle that way. He can't call a halt on the way up to Golgotha and escape from it all, for then there would be no end. He can only go this way to the death. The onlookers, we are told, actually taunted him to put a stop to it. "If you are the Son of God," they said, "come down from the cross." But he did not come down. Had he done that, we would be forever under the law, wrath, and death. Not even God will stop it. Jesus cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So the only thing he can do in the end is die for us. He dies at our hands. Hands resolved to go the way of the law. Hands that will not give up until they have gotten him out of the way. We don't need to elaborate doctrines or theories of atonement to see why his death is for us. We lay hands on him and put him to death. And he does not stop us. He goes his way to death without a word, like a lamb before its shearers is dumb. No one takes his part. No one. There is nothing here to imitate or emulate. His disciples betray him, deny him, forsake him, and flee. Even they provide no example for us here. In the end, nothing remains even of his life to persuade us to call a halt. He is despised and rejected as one from whom we hide our faces. He dies for us. That is all he can do in the end. But it was not the end. God vindicates the crucified Jesus by raising him from the dead. Had Jesus remained in the tomb, that would have been the sad ending of our story. We would have been right, and he would have been wrong. He would remain in the bonds of death, and we, supposedly, in life. But now the tables are turned. He is raised. He is right. We are wrong. He is alive. And we are dead. So now he alone gives us life. Life. Triumphant. Life. Triumphant over the law, sin, and death that threaten always to consume us. Jesus died to give us this gift. He died for you. Take up your hymnals.